Thank you for really nice introductions and all organizers for the conference. A very important skill set today, right? Listen to my accent. That's very important. Because I'm from former Czechoslovakia, and usually when so I was for 2 years, I spoke for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, National Executive Council, and one of the guys told me that I have the most distinguished accent they had for the last 10 years, right? Because they had a lot of people from Middle East, not necessarily from the former bloc itself. Extortion. Is there anyone who has less than $500 on a bank account? Don't be ashamed, you can raise a hand. Maybe we can do a collection for you, right? Small contribution for all of you. So the reality is it's a new phenomenon. Anyone can be extorted. And you have $500, that's good, $500 on a bank account, right? Someone really wants it. And what's the beauty? Think about this. What is the beauty in cyber extortion? Sure, hacking too, right? But how many of you do get paid in 2-3 days? And they really want to pay you in a fear. Did you have a client to call you and tell you, I really want to pay your invoice? Do you need any extra money? Can I pay now? Right? Doesn't happen so often. So extortion is a new era of probably change the mindset of the criminals, how they operate and how quickly they can pay. Okay? Feel free to connect us, on LinkedIn, media. We have our team in here in the room, and they do more impressive work. I'm just the character to deliver the speech, right? I feel very privileged that over the last 4 years of commercial business, we had 4 Department of Justice indictment. We were probably part of any major Department of Justice indictment. So domain that we pointed out very early era to the Bureau was Extortion. Maybe you never heard of, but it was one of the first exchanges that actually resold the RDP credentials for deployment of ransomware. And 15 law enforcement agencies work on this. There are all these signs. The picture is cut, but you can see international cooperation within Europol, Interpol, and all the agencies try to get it done, and it finally seized the domain. Then on the right side, you actually have the 2 Iranians that were indicted for the Samsung ransomware. That these are the hospitals that you read in the news. Remember them? The hospitals that got breached, right? That they are behind it. They're called the Samsung. Why that group is important? That group was the first one that didn't use a spear phishing. They used and break through the web applications. So they actually were buying these marketing leads out of the dark web. I'm going to get into it. And they were breaking into the systems. Then one that I want to point it out that I'm really proud, but it turned our business into a 3 months hell, was a NiceHash. So NiceHash had the group, remember Sony? Right? What do you remember, the PlayStation or a hack? All right, so the hacking group, right? The hacking group behind the Sony called Lazarus. They are also behind a large cryptocurrency. So one of the members got indicted, and one of the indictment that partially came through some of the work done on the cryptocurrency market. Interesting momentum. It's now estimated that Lazarus stole and converted into cash close to $1 billion. Amazing. I probably have charts somewhere I can show you exactly on all the exchanges Lazarus went through and basically cashed out the money. The victim here was around 80 million. And the last one is, and this was pure coincidence, we had for close to, I would say, 2 years, the nation-state group called APT-10. The main reason why they say that this was one of the largest APTs is that because they went for the infrastructure of the MSP providers, and they compromise the providers itself. And these, you're talking the providers who serve like a Fortune 2000 market. They had multiple access, right? So in their data center, you had multiple victims. And the nation state basically pivoted right in through the providers and then took the data out. So that's another indictment we were part of. And we actually had multiple individuals of that group that we made attribution. But as you know, in the criminal justice system, you have to, right, count very, very heavily, especially if you can't seize any equipment or you can't seize those individuals. So there are 2 of them on the right side. All right. So a little bit of the agenda in here, and some of the extortion type of cases and matters that we've done into it. Executive officers, teenagers, sextortion, quite a bit, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, payroll data. I think we've seen quite a bit of it. And I'm really thankful everyone in here in the room who pivot some of the cases to us. I see here Paul Ferrillo, who's just a very great attorney, who pivot some of the business email compromise cases. So, thank you all for our trust, and we try to deliver all the good work for you. Are you taking questions, sir? Yes, I am taking questions. Are you sure? Yes, I am. Because I have a loaded one, but I thought I was going to hold back. Paul, I suggest your questions, you take sometimes whole presentation. You know that, right?
Here's the problem that I'm asking you to solve for many in the world.
Sure.
And I sat with somebody today talking about the ransomware attacks on Texas. Why are we 5 years into the ransomware, but at least 5 years? And it seems like we haven't learned how to deal with ransomware attacks. How do we defend against them? What do we do to make ourselves more secure? Because, as you know, your files indicate we've gone from 5 Bitcoin, maybe 10 Bitcoin, to ransomware payments of $750,000 in the last year.
Yep.
Why have things gotten so worse, and what can we do about it?
Mm-hmm. So, very good question. And so I asked someone who is much brighter. Paul, did I tell you that in a school they had a Fulbright and Halbright scholarship and only got a half-bright? Did I tell you that? Okay. So I think one of the areas, thank you, Paul. Thank you for kind words, as always. So one of the, I was at the crypto meeting at The Hague around 2 months, feel very privileged. And I was asking Europeans, why they don't have such a high, massive ransomware. And you know what the message was from EC3? Europol is actually paying the ransom. Now, how excited you would be if I tell you tomorrow that FBI agent is going to pay your ransom? And that's kind of like guys in Europe. It's like, I have to talk to guys at Europol to get my Bitcoins. I'm not really sure I really want to do that. Why don't we just take the Americans? They don't, right? So it's also, I'm not saying it's a blame on the government, but the piece to it is that there's not enough scary momentum, right, for these guys to do it, and you're absolutely right. Another one that I really liked that leaked around 7-8 months ago was Ars Technica article, and last year and a half, I see Billy in here, so thank you for all great work and working with Billy and his team. What we had was everyone who he had actually had cyber insurance. And they knew somehow that, for example, they asked for $3.5 million on a $5 million umbrella. Then another one had a $500,000 umbrella. They asked for $350,000. Right? So how does like a Ryuk and BitPaymer, how do they know, how do they target people they know are going to pay? And Ars Technica ran the article, and I'm not saying it's true, that some of the brokers' data have been breached. And they really picked up the brokers' data. They exactly know who has a cyber, what the policy is, and what you're going to pay. Right? So I think the outside of the, we can blame the corporations, right? And we can blame everyone for not doing the right job, protect, detect, defend. But they're also the outside circle that I think the ecosystem, I think the ecosystem is all wrong. Between us, government, public, private, it's vendors. Every vendor right now is selling solution, including, sorry, I almost misspoke. Everyone is telling you that they help you to defeat the ransomware, right? And it truly is not, right? It's not. It's just, and it's going to continue. It's going to continue this momentum until the government steps maybe, or we create a working group basically and fight it. Another one that I didn't like personally was that everyone is so dishonest about this. It's not happening to them. You don't have like a large working group, let's say Fortune 500, like remember Santa Fe was creating shared assessment? You don't have a large working group and says, we're going to stop the ransom. Because we are the big guys, we have money, we have initiatives, right? And we're going to create this working group and say, we're going to openly say, happened to us, you know? It goes back to your youngster era. Like how many of you honestly, when you've done something really, really stupid, ran to your parents and says, Mom, you're not going to believe the stupidity I did. Right? You don't. So raise your hand. Right? So no one really wants to say it. And a lot of these things, like you, Paul, said it, it's not a rocket science. It doesn't require NASA. And even below the Halbright scholarship that I got, right? you probably can solve it. But we don't. And I also, often, and you talk to boards, I know Billy talks to boards, that yet cyber is scary, but every CEO tells you it's a 5% of my problem. The 95% why my business is not going to function. So you can have a lot of scary stories to tell me, but I have 95% pressure, peer pressure in industry, why my business, because of marketing, sales team. I tell you, I mean, Steve, every time Steve, I see him, I'm thinking, does he want more money for a sales team? Or is it a good day he's telling me to close another deal? Right? Not anymore? Yeah, though I agree with you. At least something happening, right?
You know, we're in an industry, I'm part of it, so I don't know how that waits for something bad to happen and waits for people to die for us to take action.
It might be it.
Well, we're seeing SEC investigations like the first American title. We're seeing stuff we haven't seen for 15, 20 years, close Sarbanes-Oxley, because of cyber attacks. You just can't say, I'm not a target, and this isn't going to happen.
It's going to happen to everyone.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one of their life certainties, right? Yeah, no, but thank you. Thank you for Paul. Yeah. I'll ask you. I'll get you heads up. But thank you for input. So I like the one of the groups in the early era of ransomware, and what we had was this group that actually a survey at the end, right? And it's kind of interesting, right? From a victim, you become a client, and then you do a survey how well you received that service from them, right? Did data get encrypted well, right? Did you decrypt it well? Did you get everything back, right? So the threat actors do have some understanding of the quality of the service they need to provide it to you. The one interesting component is that you need to understand that the bad guys are not in here to create enterprise software, right? So that whatever they give you, that executable, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So we had multiple instances where the program did not decrypt it well. Let me give you a very quick example. You have a file share on a computer that's being mapped to a share of documents, and that server get also encrypted. So in the middle of encrypting one and the other, they both get encrypted by the same malware. Right? Issue. Because now we have to either determine the order, or was it partially encrypted, but the other one picked it up and killed it, right? So it is sometimes challenging, and especially on the shares, it's much harder to do that. Just very quickly.
Ransomware has gotten more, the actual mechanisms in the ransomware have gotten more sophisticated in those past 5 years, or actually not, because I attended a talk at Black Hat where there was a reverse engineering of some ransomware, and they found out that it really had just a scare factor. Like if you would run the ransomware again on the encrypted data, you wouldn't actually decrypt it because it was just a simple XOR cipher. So it would restore the original data by running the ransomware again. And the client, of course, or the business didn't know that, so they were found, in a bind. But the ransomware itself wasn't very sophisticated.
So let's go back to what